terrible moment, our instinct for survival takes over for a few short but decisive seconds. No, we don't want an antenatal diagnosis. We want this baby. It represents life. A tiny glimmer of light on our grim, black horizon. The conversation continues, but without us. We no longer have the strength. We're somewhere else. Nowhere. Now we have to get up and leave the room. It may not seem much, and yet it's one of the most difficult things to do. Because that move hurls us back into the present, into our lives where nothing will ever be the same again. It's symbolic. We have to pick ourselves up after the impact and carry on with our lives. A first step, a small step, but a step all the same. We say goodbye outside the hospital, distraught, broken, shattered. Loïc is going back to work. Nothing had led us to anticipate a cataclysm like this. I go home on autopilot. She's there. I've hardly stepped through the door before I see her. Thaïs. She's standing in the hallway with her great big smile, her pink cheeks, her cheeky expression, and her blonde hair. There she is, happy, glowing, mischievous, confident. And today, Wednesday, March 1, is her birthday. She's 2 years old. Thaïs is like any other little girl. Or at least she was until an hour ago. Until today, the only distinctive thing about her was her birth date, February 29, a day that comes around just once every 4 years, with birthdays only in leap years. Loïc loves the fact. He announces happily that his daughter won't get old so quickly. There it is, her one peculiarity. That and a distinctive way of walking that's adorable but slightly hesitant. I noticed it at the end of the summer. I like looking at baby footprints in wet sand, and there, on a warm beach in Brittany, I realized that Thaïs walked in an unusual way, her big toes turned outwards. She can walk, though, that's what matters. She might have some vague problem with flat feet, at the very most. To set our minds at rest, we went to see an orthopedist in the fall. He didn't find anything wrong and advised us to wait a year to see whether things would straighten out by themselves. But a year is a long time for parents, and 2 opinions are better than 1. We made an appointment at a children's hospital. They came to the exact same conclusion. There isn't any problem, at least not an orthopedic one, the doctor said, but you should arrange to see a neurologist all the same. He might have an explanation. We weren't worried. We knew there wasn't anything seriously wrong with Thaïs. It was clear to see. October was drawing to a close. Our lives were brimming with insolent happiness. After Gaspard, who would soon be 4, and Thaïs, we were expecting a 3rd child in mid-July. By then, we would have moved into a bigger apartment. We were both fulfilled by our work, and we love each other. In other words, life was smiling on us. If it hadn't been for Thaïs's little foot, which insisted on turning outwards as she walked. The neurologist couldn't see us before the end of the year. We were in no hurry, even though the caregiver and the principal at Thaïs's daycare center think they've noticed tiny shaking movements in her hands and thought she didn't smile so much anymore. That was true, but we didn't find it alarming. Thaïs must have been aware of the still invisible baby. She was feeling put out and unsettled by it. That must be the explanation. But it didn't stop her developing like every other little girl her age, singing, laughing, talking, playing, and marveling at the world. When we met the neurologist, she confirmed all these facts, but went on to prescribe a series of tests. At the start of the new year, the MRI scan proved perfectly normal. Good news? No, not really, the doctors thought, because they still had to explain that gait problem. The diagnosis was looking gloomier. Thaïs underwent more tests, slightly more painful ones. Blood samples, lumbar puncture, skin biopsy. We heard talk of metabolic disorders without really knowing what that meant and without any precise answers. For now. Then Loïc and I were called in for blood tests. We went along meekly and confidently, light years away from suspecting what lay in store. And yet, in a few days' time, our lives would be turned upside down.